Long time no see, everyone. Hisashiburi, tanto tiempo sin verte. It's your old mate Chicago. I'm back at it again. This time with an updated look at my Rick Owens sock ramones over 100 wears later. So I was making a video recently about the pair of mainline Ramones that I picked up. I did think of how I have had this pair of sock Ramones for quite some time now. It has been almost 3 years, in fact. Initially, I did get a pair that was brand new. I don't know why I'm doing this, but they were brand new. They were like dead stock brand new. So they were old, but they hadn't been worn and they were in box. But then I ended up moving those and I got this pair that were secondhand, but I was just worried about the other ones falling apart. But I did get this pair, and this is the ones that I've had since and I've been wearing since. I did end up selling that other pair as well. So we're about, the app says 160 wears, but that includes the OG pair. So let's just say over 100. And I wanted to do this update because I do have people occasionally messaging me asking about sock Ramones, sizing, even though there's 2 videos out, whether they should get some, where to get some. And I did want to point out some things that people may not be aware of because, when I did do the videos, they were quite new and we hadn't worn them for an extended period of time. And overall, long story short, I would have to say I absolutely do not recommend these unless you don't mind having a pair of extremely unfunctional shoes that will fall apart. Now, Chicagon, you may say, that is a bold statement. That's a hot take. And, well, I mean, it might be, and there's no... Let me be clear that if you want this pair of shoes, absolutely go ahead. This is more just putting out there some information of my experience with them, and you can make of that what you will. I want you to make a more informed decision with the money that you spend. Money is getting tighter, things are getting harder to find, and you want to be a bit better with your spending. So just want to point out some things about these shoes that may or may not make you change your mind. So first of all though, let's have a look at the soles. I got the soles of these fixed up quite a while ago because, as we repeat time and time again, the soles on Rick's shoes, specifically sneakers, do wear out. As you can see there, that's how bad it was. And this is what the cobbler had to do. They filled in this section and then added another layer to the bottom there as well, which has almost been eaten through. In fact, I would say it basically has been. You can see the other pair here as well. I think they did a very, very good job. It definitely, saved these from being completely obliterated. You do not want this to get really any further because then you really have to look at replacing everything, and that's a lot costlier. You can see up further on the sole, it is quite flat. We are losing the tread. You can see the side profile there. It's basically gone, and that's a given. A lot of people, especially in Japan, when they do buy a pair of Rick sneakers, they immediately take them to a cobbler and get a Vibram sole or a different sole put on the bottom because of how notoriously thin and weak these soles are. So just something to keep in mind. But ultimately, they're problems you have to deal with all Rick shoes, sneakers, Rick sneakers. What's more important and the biggest thing about these shoes is how they're structurally built. So the sock Ramone, as the name implies, it is just a sock sneaker. We have this very stretchy leather upper with this heel pad here, which is the most secure part of the entire shoe. Mine's very worn, so it's not very sturdy anymore. We do have the toe cap as well, but the main part is this stretchy sock leather. Makes it very easy to take on and off. Looks really, really classy when it isn't slouching around. But over time, these do wear down, and it's kind of hard to pick up in this light, but the leather has... I've had these treated so many times. Whenever I go to Japan, I take them to a cobbler to get them restored, and the last time I did it, they reluctantly did it for me. They were like, we can do it, but it's not going to properly restore them. It's only going to last a finite amount of time, not a very long, more expected amount of time for getting something fixed up at a cobbler. And I said, that's fine. I don't mind. The light at the moment isn't making them look too bad, but they are very, very worn out. That sort of come down, and it kind of makes them... It doesn't make them look any nicer, this being worn, in my opinion, and it is a shame. It's much more noticeable in different sorts of light, but as you can see, it's sort of coming apart. And it's not even a structural problem. That's what I said we were going to talk about. Let's look at the structural problem. So, the shoe. We bend the shoe. When we walk, the shoe bends and things happen. Rick sneakers are notorious for the stitching coming apart and these separating, but when there is a stretchy sock upper, it can get a lot worse. As we can see in here, whoops. As we can see in here, this is ripping. The stitching has come out. This is actually a lot better than the other shoe, but you can see that's completely open there. Nope, it's just ripped in a different way. That is a complete hole in the shoe there. And that sucks. That's something that, I mean, you could take to get fixed, but I don't think it'd hold very long. The other side of it, it's sort of holding. It's doing okay. But we can see here that at the very front of the toe cap, I'm not sure how I'm going to capture this. We can see that this has opened in here as well. That has completely separated here. So air holes, maybe you can walk faster in them as a result. And that's something that is not just tied to this one specific foot. Another part, we can see here that at the heel, this is separating here. You see this a lot in secondhand pairs, that this part will start tearing. And I'm not sure whether that's just from like putting the shoe on and off, or like just the walking motion, how it may stretch the leather a bit. But this separation you see over here is so common as well. It's kind of outrageous, to be honest. It's a major structural thing. We can look at the other shoe. You can see we have the same thing there as well. And then looking at the separated parts, that was the worst of the two shoes, but we can see this is separating here as well. A couple of laces holding, threads holding on for dear life in there. And then the other side, we can see that this is completely out. How will I show this? Figuring out how to demonstrate. But you can see here, this is completely gone in there. Like it's a pretty gaping hole that we've got there as well. Wearing these now is just very funny because they're so done and cooked. They're only going to get worse, and I just don't see the point in taking them to a cobbler and seeing whether you can get that part re-sewn. It's going to just fall apart again. And look, these shoes, brand new, I remember the retail was $1,800. I remember I got them for a third of that price, the brand new pair. And if you were paying $1,800 for a shoe that was gonna fall apart in these odd, like, I don't mind wear and tear on the sole. That's gonna happen. You can fix that, but the uppers just falling apart, ripping and separating, it's just a lot of damage from walking. Like, I wasn't running, I wasn't playing any sports in these, I wasn't doing anything outrageous, and yet the upper's just falling apart. I will say though, however, another big problem you do see in Rick shoes is that the sole will crack. This hasn't. Like, looking at it, inspecting it, we are in pretty good shape. The most you can sort of see is that in between where like the threads go in here, the camera will focus. The most you can see is where the threads go in and out of the sole are sort of starting to crack. Just a wear and tear thing, but it's not egregious like others where it does just fall apart and completely crack, and you do see, where there's the pressure on the sole that just falls off sometimes. So I will commend that. That's pretty good. That has held up. The sole overall, besides the usual problems of, wear and tear here, is pretty good. It's just the uppers are no good. And I think that is something very, very much worth looking out for or paying attention to if you're considering buying a pair of these, especially secondhand. I get sent photos all the time of, do you think this is okay with like the rips on the heels? And it's like, well, it's going to happen anyway. If it's already happened, it's only going to get worse. And I have seen people selling pairs where the things have been restitched, and I don't know how well that actually goes in extending the life of the shoes themselves. And some people selling them when they've been repaired like that, still selling them for about the same price that a regular pair that hasn't been repaired or doesn't have the damage goes for, which is a bit absurd. Secondhand markets are so strange. But yeah, I figured I just wanted to make this video so interested parties, which is probably not very many people, could have a look and just see what it looks like for a pair of shoes that has been worn over 100 times and make a decision whether they actually do want to take that leap. And I think that with that knowledge, yeah, like if you do, these just look so good when they're in good condition. Or maybe even like these holes and things, you don't notice them when other people wouldn't notice them if you're wearing them because no one's looking so intricately at your shoes. But just be aware that if you are going to get a pair of these, they are going to fall apart. It is inevitable that that's going to happen. But if you don't care and you don't mind, then by all means, go ahead. They are very, very, very cool. But if you were looking for something that maybe had a bit more of a lifespan, perhaps a more regular pair of Ramones, if it must be a Rick sneaker, would suit you better. But yeah, hopefully this has helped. If it hasn't, I'm sorry. I need to do better. But yeah, you'll take care, have fun, be safe. And as always, don't do anything I do except definitely get your sneakers treated by a cobbler like magicians. They walk among us. And they're all very, very lovely people. So yeah, go visit your local and get your shoes fixed. Until next time, you'll take care. Bye-bye.